Now, if I were really being responsible, I'd be playing these games instead of telling you that I want to play these games. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm going over 10 games that I really want to play. That's it. That's all it is. You can check out the timestamps, you can go ahead and jump through that, and that's all you really need to know. If you want to know more, there is this video. These are 10 games that are possibly the highest 10 games currently on my aggressively I want to table them more. Some of them I've already talked about, some of them I've already started, and I'm trying to get them tabled more. That's what it comes down to. Or in some cases I've read the rules, in other cases I've set it up upstairs, in other cases I just have it on my radar of games I want to play soon. Now, two of these, and this list in general is not going to be in any specific order. The general order is whatever order I decide to go through it, which is going to be starting off with two I've been talking about a lot in recent videos, but I really want to table them more. They're both games that I've started the process of playing them, I've started the process of diving into them, and then just life has gotten in the way, trips have gotten in the way, things to do, videos to film, videos like this one where I should or could be playing a game instead. Well, honestly, it's not entirely true. This video will take me 20 minutes, and playing the games will take me significantly longer, so it's not really an apples-to-apples comparison. But that said, let's start off with the two that are really I've been talking about a lot recently. The first of which is Cloudspire. No, Cloudspire is not that empty, or not that light, but it is that empty as a moment because it's set up upstairs. It's actively in middle of me playing through it, a process I started 3 weeks ago and have been slowly continuing. Cloudspire goes back to actually Origins, strictly speaking, or it's been in my collection for like 2 years, but it's a game I finally played at Origins. It was my one goal, my one commitment of, I have Origins coming, I want to do a whole bunch of things, but the main thing I want to get done is I want to play Cloudspire. I reached out to Chip 3 Games, they said, sure, we're happy to teach it to you, and they taught it to us, and so we played it, and I learned to play Cloudspire competitively. I then dove into it solo, where it's set up on my table for the past 3 weeks, which Origins was more than 3 weeks ago, but it took me a week or two to actually get it set up and tabled and played, but now it's been set up on my table for the past 3 weeks, and I started the process of diving into the solo campaign, and I really am enjoying it quite a bit. But I need to play it more. And I need to play it cooperatively, too. I just need to play it ultimately. The main takeaway from this entire video, if there is any takeaway at all, is I just need to get Cloudspire played. Cloudspire is a game that I really enjoy what I've seen of it so far. I really enjoy the competitive play. I really enjoy the solo play. I have not talked about the cooperative play yet because I haven't played it yet that way, but it's a game that I really like the puzzle of the various factions and trying to utilize your abilities, figure out who to recruit, figure out which ways to upgrade your fortress, which ways to go ahead and make the choices as you progress along a pathway, who to target, who to take down, what your heroes are doing as you control them with a little bit more agency than the various creatures as you manage the lanes and just send hordes of creatures spiraling into your opponents, or in the case of the solo play, the AI competitor you're playing against. It has the potential to surpass Too Many Bones as my favorite ship theory game. I say potential very with a giant degree of warning signs all over it. Ankh, when I first played Ankh from Command Games, it had the potential to surpass Blood Rage, but 8 plays later it just didn't. 8 plays later, it capped out and started stabilizing a bit. Where I am with Ankh, completely unrelated, is where I am with Ankh because I kind of need to play the expansion, but it's the kind of game where I really enjoy it, but also it's possible that I still would always rather play Blood Rage. Ankh's a game I really like. It's still around for now. This is not the point of this video. I don't know why I get sidetracked so easily. I just do. But Cloudspire is definitely one of my higher games that I want to table more. I have it actively set up and am in the middle of it. The second from this list of games that I've started the process of playing but have not come back to is Tainted Grail. Again, an empty box is going to be true for most, if not all of these games, because there are a lot of very heavy games. Usually I grab the full box. I don't like the process of going after and trying to find the box tops to put them back on, but in the case of today, I had a lot of big box games, so I made an exception. Tainted Grail from Awakened Realms is a game that I finally managed to table the tutorial scenario and started the process of setting up and diving into the regular game, and then Origins happened. This was a game that was pre-Origins as far as when I was playing it, and then since Origins, I've been on a bit of a just desperately trying to keep my life on track, desperately trying to keep charge of everything and be on top of everything and make sure everything happens. I like Tainted Grail a lot from what little I've experienced of it. And from what little I've experienced of it is the key factor here. This is a game where I have not had the chance to properly dive in and play. This is a game where I've had the chance to properly taste what it's doing, to get a feel for what the game is offering, to get a feel for what the game is giving me, and it's a game that I'm eager to dive in properly and learn the story, learn the progression, the character, chain more cards, the diplomacy, the battle, going through it. It's a game that's been talked about for a long time. I went for one wave shipping, which meant I got the game a year and a half after everyone else, and when I finally got it, I was doing content creation, I was busy, and finally the motivator to get this tabled was the fact that they have a new one coming, which I'd love to dive into. but I think I owe it to myself to actually play this at least a little bit first so I can competently talk with the original experience. I am curious what the expansion is going to bring to the table as far as new content, where the story takes place, before, after. Do you need to play this at all? If Awakened Realms is smart, then the answer is no, you don't need to play this at all, but who knows? We'll see. I really am enjoying what little I've seen of Tainted Grail. This one is much lower down on my list of things that it will surpass. I have seen the taste of something that I'm really enjoying, and I want to dive into it more, but there's no game that is currently surpassing just yet. I need to actually... This one needs more time. Cloudspire, I've had enough time. This one needs more time to really get into it. From there, I'll go to the game that I'm probably least excited about, but it is one that's currently on my radar. It's one that I currently am in the middle of the rules for, and that's going to be the Red Cathedral, and more specifically, the Contractors Expansion. This is one that I just got from Devere Games, and this is probably the smallest, least ambitious game on the table, but it's still one that I want to play. Red Cathedral is a game that wasn't really on my radar, and nor was Contractors, and Devere Games sent me these games, and I was like, hey, I never actually got to table this one, but I kind of want to see what they have to offer. If the game already got an expansion, that makes me a little bit more compelled. I've heard generally good things, and also Devere Games has made one of my favorite new discoveries in 2021, I want to say? 2022. I think it was a 2022 discovery. One of my favorite games that I found in 2022 would be a game called Paris, a 2-player polyomino game that Devere Games did an amazing job with, and I absolutely adored. It's one of those games that I'm going to constantly and forever say is an underrated gem. Not because people don't like it, but people don't know about it. If you played it and you're kind of okay with it, that's okay. You don't have to love it. I love Paris. This is like such a side tangent video. I'm just diving into all these side games that have nothing to do with the games on the table. Let's talk about the Red Cathedral. I want to play this one. It's a little bit lower on my ambition, purely from the stance of I do think there's a decent chance it's one that I'm like, hey, it's a good game. I like it. 3.5 out of 5. For context, I have not played it. That is not a rating. Do not take it as a rating. It's just the idea that this is a game that I want to play it. I want to see how it is. I want to try it with the expansion. I want to give it a fair shot. And I want to see if it's a game that does wonders for me, or perhaps it's a game that I think is a solid recommendation and can move on from. Either way, it's on my list of games that I'm actively trying to table. From there, and next, we'll go to, this actually games in this box, I don't want to damage anything, we'll go to the only prototype on the list. That's the reason, that's going to be a combination of two factors. The first is the fact that in general I've been saying no to more and more prototypes, trying to review more and more final production games. The prototype game is its own little game that burns you out in its own magical way as you dive into more and more games that are inferior and just not that great. But there's many great games to be found as well in prototypes, and I found some real gems along the way. In the case of the Dead Reckoning is a game I had a chance to play it both as the original prototype in the first Kickstarter, and then again subsequently I've started to dive into the sagas as the game has arrived. And so when AEG is like, hey, you remember Dead Reckoning, that game that you put out a video targeting the company and saying, Dead Reckoning, why all the outrage? I wonder if AEG knows that I put out that video. I imagine they do, but people don't always see or remember, and who I was at 5,000 subscribers is a different conversation of who I am at 35,000 subscribers, 40,000 subscribers, and so I wonder if they actually realized. Probably. They probably do. I like AEG. They seem to like me. They send me games. I assume they know that I once upon a time was mean to them. Anyways, then that's not the point. The point is Dead Reckoning. Dead Reckoning is a game of Letters of Marque is the expansion for Dead Reckoning. Expansion that comes with a new saga as well as new ways to play the game. And I'm excited to dive into this one. Like I said already, prototypes in general have been fewer and further between, and the ones I do have are a drop less exciting because they're prototypes, and I tend to be less excited. But this is an expansion to a game I already love, and so I am more excited to dive into this one. I am more excited to see whether this is a game that works for me or not, or, I mean, I know the game works for me. Whether this is an expansion that does anything for me or not, we'll see. Ultimately, it's a chance and an excuse to continue to play Dead Reckoning, which is a game that I don't need an excuse to play. I've been playing it, but I don't mind an excuse to play it more. From there, next up, let's go to another one that I'm a little bit more hesitant on, which is Stars of Akarios. And for the sake of just having fewer boxes, I have the Ships of Akarios as my display piece to go. This is a game that I dove into 3 or 4 times. I've debated doing a first impressions video on it and decided that I would more just focus on covering it in this video. I don't know when I set down and table this one next. The practical reality is that between Cloudspire, between Tainted Grail, between Stars of Akarios, between 3 or 4 other boxes on the floor that are all ambitious games that will take a lot out of me to properly table, I don't know when I table this next. Hopefully soon, though, because I liked what it had to offer. At least I liked what it had to offer from what little I saw of it at first. You see, Stars of Akarios is often being described by myself and by others as Gloomhaven in space, and if you play the game, you'll understand why, because it has the core combat system of Gloomhaven, not the combat system, I take that back, it has many core elements of Gloomhaven on the higher level structure. The combat system is actually very different. You're not playing cards, you're rolling dice, you're assigning those dice to actions and abilities, upgraded abilities, things like that. You have a lot of things, but the enemy activation, the sequencing, the way the combat decks works, there's a lot of factors that make it feel like it's clearly trying to be Gloomhaven in space. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, and what I saw so far I also enjoyed, which makes it a good thing. I like Gloomhaven, I don't mind Gloomhaven in space, and I like the fact that it's different enough that it feels like it has a reason and a space to exist, period. But from there, I am curious about this one because I do wonder if the game holds up the way Gloomhaven holds up. Gloomhaven offers a degree of iteration to the battle sequence in which you get more powerful as the game progresses, as you're willing to burn down your most powerful cards, and I haven't yet seen that in Stars of Akarios. To me, it seems more flat-noted as far as the combat. I like it, I enjoy it, but it seems a little bit more one-noted as far as you're going to try to just go through it, and there's no progression. There's no degree of, oh my gosh, we're in the second half of the battle, but this is where I start to ramp things up because I can afford to ramp things up. I haven't seen that yet. Again, not that into the game. Plenty of time to explore, plenty of time to see where it goes. I certainly like Stars of Akarios, and I am interested in continuing to dive into it. I have a feeling Gloomhaven's going to outlast it, or Gloomhaven, or Crimson Scales, or Frosthaven, or any of the various Gloomhaven offshoots, or even Rove coming from Addicts Games. I think that will hold on to it longer as well. Ultimately, we'll see. The Stars of Akarios, the Stars of Akarios. I'm excited to dive into it. Next up from there, let's go with one that is another one that's a drop less excited, although for completely different reasons. We're going to go with Endless Winter. Endless Winter, a game I played last week, and Endless Winter is great, and it's excellent, and for me, I want to kind of explore the expansions. Now, I'm not excited to play this one, I'm just excited to play a whole bunch of things on the table. This is very much up there, specifically with the expansions, and also the solo mode. I want to give the solo mode a shot. That should be something that I really give myself a little bit of time to dive into, but the Endless Winter, Paleo Americans, I don't know why this title's so long, Endless Winter, is a game that I loved when I first played it. Speaking of prototypes that give you an excellent experience, Endless Winter is one of the prototypes that gave me an excellent experience. So it's the first game. I remember once upon a time when some people in my game group were asking me about this whole content creation thing, and am I discovering anything that's worth it, or are they all just lesser games? And I paused for a second and I was like, good question, we can talk about it. But Endless Winter. Endless Winter is definitely a game that I discovered that is worth it, that makes me fun, makes me enjoy the fact that I get to try things early and get a feel for these different games, and Endless Winter holds up. Diving back into it years later, not years later, a year and a half later, whatever it's been, diving back into it that long, both playing on TTS, playing it in person, enjoying the experience, it holds up for me. It gives me amazing deck building, it gives me a lot of chaining, it gives you multiple pathways as far as how you build out your deck, and with the expansions and modules, it gives you a ton of ways to explore it. At this point, I don't know what I prefer between Endless Winter, between Dune Imperium, between Lost Winds of Arnak, and playing both those latter games with the expansions as well. I don't know which of these games I prefer. They are all progressively growing stronger and stronger for me. All three of them, guaranteed, are in my top 100 this year. Guaranteed. There's no way they're not. Listen, if they're not, they're not. I'm not going to randomly push them in just because I told you they are, but all three of these games are guaranteed in my top 100 games when I do it this coming year. I really, really enjoy this game. From there, I'm going to grab for Wonderlands War. That's the problem with having big box on the table. Wonderlands War, which is a game that from what's it called? From Skybound Games, strictly speaking, and then from Skybound Games going from there to Druid City Games, although I think this is still owned by Skybound as far as properties go. This is just the chipset, which I have to incorporate at some point in some way to the actual big box I have. But I've been wanting to play Wonderlands War since I got it, and the only reason I haven't is because Devin Norris from Devin Talks Tabletop, if I remember, I'll throw a link to his channel down below, you should check him out, lots of fun. But Devin Norris from Devin Talks Tabletop knows how to play the game, and so I was like, we will play it on your next trip, or your next trip, or when I visit you, or your next trip. Or maybe at Gen Con. Maybe at Gen Con. That'll be the next time. I don't know. We'll find out. I want to play Wonderlands War, and I want to play Wonderlands War with Devin Norris and Devin Talks Tabletop because he knows the rules and has played it, and that will save me time. But I need to actually get it tabled. I need to get it played. And Wonderlands War. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this one. I'm not enjoying this one. I haven't played this one. I need to play this one. I really like Wonderlands War. I don't know how I'm saying this. What words am I saying right now? I'm just saying this. I really want to like Wonderlands War. I know how the game plays. I know the basic game structure. I know the bag building combined with area control. That makes me very interested and compelled by whether this is a game that will work for me. And I know that's been getting generally high praise. And all of that combined makes me very interested in thinking that this is a game that I will like. And it's a game I want to play. It's a game with great art. It's a game with plays in a reasonable time frame, supposedly speaking. I've seen people say it's too long, but if it's like in the 2-hour range, that's too long for a game like this. I'm interested in Wonderlands War. I want to play Wonderlands War, and Devin Norris and Devin Talks Tabletop will hopefully be the eventual reason why I play the game. But if not, then nothing. If not, let's just read the rules and learn it myself. But I want to play Wonderlands War. I've been interested. I've been jiving to play this game since I first got it, and I've just been relying on him, which that was a mistake. He's a great guy, make no mistake. But we just haven't played Wonderlands War. From there, next up, we have Guards of Atlantis II, which I read the rules for and was prepared to table, I want to say 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I read the rules, was prepared to table the game. These empty boxes are falling on top of each other. You can see I'm not used to handling empty boxes. I'm used to doing full boxes. But Guards of Atlantis is a game that I read the rules for it to prepare to play the game because I love the original Guards of Atlantis and I wanted to play the subsequent new version of it, and then And then one of my friends said, hey, can I join game night at the last minute, taking us from 4 players to 5 players, which is not the ideal player count for Guards of Atlantis, and so we did not play Guards of Atlantis. Maybe next week, or the week after next, or the week after next. I know that I love this game. I know that I love the original game. I know that my group, various members of my group, like the original game, and I believe that this one will get tabled. It's just a question of when, and hopefully that when is sooner rather than later. I don't know. We'll have to find out. But overall, Guards of Atlantis is one that I want to play it, is what it comes down to. I played it a long time ago. I got rid of the base game because I said, hey, I've got the second edition coming, so there's no rush, there's no urgency, I'll get the second version, and then it took longer to arrive than I wanted to. Now, I do have an unboxing coming of this one, or already up, depending on when you watch this video, but I really like the original Guards of Atlantis. I really like the MOBA-style banner that they have. Very different than Cloudspire in terms of the game that it's giving me. Very, very different experience, but a drop of similarity, but very, very, very different experience. But they give you lanes, they give you battles, they give you abilities, they give you an amazing upgrading hero system that is a lot of fun to go through as you upgrade your heroes, as you choose which upgrades to have and which stats to boost, and then you try to figure out how to use your unique heroes, their unique abilities. There's a whole bunch of heroes in the game. I can't remember the exact count, maybe 21, maybe? I don't remember exactly. Whatever the count of heroes is, they are all just variety to your experience, ways to dive in, ways to play the game. I'm looking forward to tabling Guards of Atlantis when I finally do get this one tabled. We have 2 left, doing decently on time. 2 left over here. These boxes are still falling. Let's just go ahead and cover up Stars of Akarios. We can't. Every time I do this, these games fall over. Moving on to, let's say, Massive Darkness Hellscape. These are the last 2, and we'll see how they go, but we have Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape over here. This is coming to you from Command Games, and this is one where I managed to read the rules for it on my I just went out of town this past week, went on a bit of a mini vacation, and managed to read the rules on the flight. I read the rules to Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape, and I got it all set up and tabled. It's currently upstairs, ready to be tabled, and then someone came over and wanted to play Spirit Island instead, so they ruined my Massive Darkness time. But I will play it soon. I'm ready to go. I've read the rules. It seems like it's 99% the original game, with the drastic change in the sense that the heroes are totally their own little mini-games. But the rest of the game, which I have behind me on the shelf somewhere there, I really like that game, and I think this will just be a better version of it. I am very excited to dive into this one. I may or may not dive into it with Tavi. I know when I did my unboxing, I had a lot of people requesting a playthrough with Tavi. That might happen. I make no guarantees. Please don't hold your breath. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Time will tell on that one. But overall, Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape is one that I'm excited to dive into it. I played the original. I like the original. I have not played this one yet. The tutorial setup. Tutorials are stupid, by the way. Tutorials in Command Games are basically just making sure I get the questions out of the way. It's like, oh, great. I remember I read the rules for this, and yep, that's what I do. It's 2 tiles. It's a very short game. It'll take me half an hour at most to play it. Maybe half an hour with actual rules and questions and all that stuff. But overall, Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape is very much on my eager and ready, or willing, rushing, wanting to play list. And then lastly, we have a game that I played, well, twice so far. Oathsworn Into the Deepwood, which is upside down. Give me a second to pretend that it's right side up. Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. I just managed to play this one twice this past week. Dove into it this past Saturday, and really enjoyed it. Really, really, really. Let me see if this will knock the box over. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Nope, we're good. Oathsworn Into the Deepwood is one that I really enjoyed significantly more than I thought I would. And you're like, I thought you liked the game, Alex. Maybe you thought that, maybe you didn't. I don't know what you've heard me say or not, but I will tell you what I said about Oathsworn Into the Deepwood in the past is a game that I played it online. I enjoyed it, but with the caveats. I enjoyed it, but was not quite in love with it just yet. I played it in person, and I enjoyed it so much more. And I remember saying at the time that I wonder how much of it was the fact that playing it on TTS led me to not fully be as immersed. Sometimes it happens, sometimes TTS gets in the way, sometimes it does not. In the case of Oathsworn, I have the feeling that TTS got into the way, and as well as the fact that we didn't play through the story either. And then having it now, we played through the story, we played through encounters, the story is done well. It gives me vibes of Wild Ascent, vibes of Monster Hunter World, vibes of... There's another game that gives me vibes of. Games where they have a alternating story followed by the actual encounter. A story, encounter, back and forth. Multiple games have done that. Oathsworn may be the game that has done it best for me, and I'm comparing it to games that have done it well. Maybe Wild Ascent. Wild Ascent Levon Rising, I really did enjoy that back and forth. Very different implementation. Completely different. But I really like Oathsworn so far from what I've played of it. It gives you a really good story mode that gives you choice, engagement, multiple choice. I have some nitpicks. There are 1 or 2 story paths where it seems like whichever way you choose, it's just giving you a different story, but there's no actual change. That kind of bothers me. Like, why give me an arbitrary choice that ends me at the same point? I mean, it gives you that feeling of agency, but if I can tell that it's a feeling of agency, it makes me question all the other choices where there actually is agency, so it takes away from the experience a bit. But that's my only real nitpick about the story. The rest of it was excellent from what I've experienced so far. And then into the encounter mode, it has an excellent push your luck system as far as decks and dice and managing your characters, managing their abilities, managing your battle flow around the board. I need to read the rules again to be very clear. This is one of those games where I read the rules, played it, and now I'm up to the read the rules again stage so that I can actually be certain that I'm playing it right. But I am so excited to dive back into this one, and it's one that was not a game that I was quite as excited about the first time round. I was like, hey, it looks good, definitely want to play it, but also maybe I play it and it goes away. You know what? Here's how excited I am. I'm excited enough that I'm going to be doing my second unboxing, because longer story if you saw my first unboxing, I'll be doing a second unboxing of the Secret Hidden Creatures, which you should not watch that unboxing if you don't want spoilers. It's going to be full of spoilers left, right, and center. But what I will say is I'm excited to do that unboxing just so I can talk about playing the game. Just so I can talk about the fights, the story, the engagement we had. No spoilers. I'll keep it to the first scenario only with, I don't think there's any serious spoilers. Honestly, I don't know why I'm saying no spoilers. The whole entire unboxing will have spoilers, so it doesn't really matter. But either way, Oathsworn into the Deepwood has certainly risen quite a bit as far as a game that I am excited and eager to sit down and table. And that's it. These are my top 10 games that I most want to play. Some that I've already played, some that I've played prior versions of it, some that one prototype, one that I'm kind of just more about the knocking it out and assuming I won't keep it, but a lot of games that, there's a few here I assume I won't keep. If I had to guess which games I don't keep, I think Red Cathedral is fighting an uphill battle, and I think Stars of Akarios, I'll probably give it a decent amount of time, but it's probably fighting an uphill battle. I think the rest are pretty stable. Wonderlands War is a guess, really. I don't know for sure, so Wonderlands War might not, but I mean, Oathsworn, from what I've seen so far, is sticking around. Guards of Atlantis, I love the original. Tainted Grail, I will be giving it quite a bit of time before it goes away. Massive Darkness, I can't imagine it goes. Dead Reckoning, I already know I love. Endless Winter, I already know I love. And Cloudspire, I already know I love. So, a whole lot of games that I am eager to sit down and play. And with that, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. This is the part where I usually just say have a good one, but let's follow this up with what games are currently on your most anticipated list. What games are you currently most anxious to play that you have ready, you've read the rules, it's set up, or it just arrived and you just want to get it played? Tell me down below in the comments which game is most front and center in your mind. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.